corporations, we are now at the portion for shares of stock. Ayan. A share of stock is actually not defined in the corporation code itself. Good morning. Ayan, good morning, Chadi. Ayan, good morning sa lahat ng mga naligo at mga hindi naligo. Lamig pa rin, no? Maambon pa sa labas. Hopefully, di naman problema ang ating internet connection. Anyway, so there's no definition no, provided in the corporation code for shares of stock, although it has been defined by Attorney Ruben Ladia in his book as the units into which the interest in the corporation is divided, which represents the proportionate integers or units, the totality of which or the sum constitutes the capital stock of the corporation. This represents rather the interest or right which the stockholder has with regards to three things. Number one, with regards to the management of the corporation, because it determines the weight of the vote of each stockholder, his share in the surplus profits in the event of liquidation, and the distribution rather of dividends, and in all the assets remaining in the event of liquidation pagkatapos bayaran lahat ng mga liabilities. No? On the other hand, we have what you call the certificate of stock, which is the document itself that represents your right with regards to the corporation. So shares of stock will be the intangible right of ownership. The certificate of stock will be your evidence as to your stock holdings. Ayan, good morning everyone. Ang agad dire-diretso kagad si Atty. Kasi ang haba ng korpo. Anyway, so for purposes of classification, the first classification that we have will be common versus preferred stocks. Common stocks, as the name suggests, would be the most common form of stocks that you will find in a corporation. In fact, walang corporation na walang common stock. No? Kasi ito na yung minimum requirement ng klase ng stock na meron ka dapat. No? This will entitle the owner of the stocks with regards to the distribution of profits and eventually the assets in case of liquidation, but without any preference or advantage as compared to other class of shares. Okay, as to voting rights, however, generally a common share will usually carry with it the voting rights. In fact, hindi ito pwedeng tanggalan except for one instance kapag merong founder shares. Na? But without the founder shares, common stocks will always have the right to vote. Yan yung hindi pwedeng tanggalan. Nga lang, except for founder shares as we have mentioned, which as the name would suggest already, are issued to founders of the corporation or the incorporators. Na? The founder shares can grant certain rights and privileges to the founders or the holders of these kinds of shares, which usually would be the exclusive right to vote or be voted upon in the election of directors. Kaya kung kunwari, yung limitation dito hanggang 5 years lamang, no? For the first 5 years, sa founder shares lang ang pwedeng bumoto at pwedeng ma-elect as members of the board, which then would effectively remove the right to vote on the part of the other shareholders kasi this exclusivity will belong only to the founder shares, so sila lang ang pwedeng iboto at sila lang ang pwedeng bumoto kung sino ang magiging members ng board of directors. You'll have to take note, however, that under the revised corporation code, the word subject to approval of the SEC has already been removed. No, which is confusing actually kasi from where natin nabibilangin yung limitation ng 5 years with regards to exclusive rights. Although it is a common idea that the counting of the period for the rights and privileges may start from the issuance of the shares themselves, na? Kahit wala ng approval ng SEC. Take note that the period of 5 years, which is the limitation or the maximum period for the exclusive rights and privileges, is non-extendable. Kasi ang idea dito, if you will have it perpetually or mas matagal pa than 5 years, di lugi naman yung magiging mga future stockholders kasi hindi sila makakasali sa pag-elect ng members ng board of directors. Kaya hanggang 5 years lang and that is non-extendable. Now, on the other hand, if we have common shares which does not carry with it any preference as to the distribution of dividends or with the distribution of assets, meron naman tayong preferred stocks, no, which is very common to us already kasi yan naman yung mga inaaral na natin sa financial accounting. So as the name would suggest, a preferred stock would carry with it preference over the common stockholders with respect to either payment of dividends or the distribution of capital upon liquidation or both. Okay, so in this case, however, there are two limitations imposed by the corporation code as to the issuance of preferred stocks. Number one, hindi pwedeng walang par value. No? A preferred stock will always have a stated par value. Kaya nga tinatanong ng iba before, sir, paano kung kunwari, kasi di ba sa tax, sa estate tax, ang valuation ng preferred stock would be its par value. Sabi ng mga estudyante before, sir, paano kapag kunwari yung problem, walang binigay na par value yung preferred stocks, hindi siya preferred. No, yan ang magiging sagot dyan kasi the law requires that preferred stocks must always have a par value. Kaya wala tayong concept, legally speaking, ng no par preferred stocks. No? Pang common stocks lang yung no par. And also, as we have mentioned already in the incorporation stage, dapat nasa articles of incorporation at certificate of stock yung preference, otherwise hindi binding yung preference. That's why it will be treated like any other share or a common share for that matter. Hindi katulad pag sa closed corporation, the preference must be in the articles, in the certificate of stock, and in the bylaws. But in an ordinary corporation, an ordinary stock corporation, sa articles at sa certificate of stock lang yan required in order for the preference to be binding. Now, preferred stocks can be classified further with regards to their preferences to dividends and preferences to liquidation. While preferences to dividends, as the name would suggest, babayaran muna natin yung preferred stocks ng mga dineclare na dividends kapag may sumobra lang tsaka mapupunta sa common shareholders. No? Ganito na rin naman ang concept pagdating sa accounting. Wala nang pinagkaiba under the law. So we further classify preferences to dividends, whether they are participating or non-participating. As we already know from financial accounting, a participating preferred share will be allowed to participate in the distribution of the excess dividends after they have already been paid their preference. Kaya kunwari, meron kang 6%, 8% preferred stocks, binayaran mo na, meron pang natira, let's say, na 120,000 na dividends, kasali pa rin sila sa distribution ng 120,000. Whereas non-participating preferred shares will be entitled only to the fixed percentage that they are entitled to. Any excess, lahat mapupunta na sa common stockholders. Hindi na sila kasali sa magiging distribution ng excess na iyon. Now, we also classify preferred stocks with regards to the dividends in arrears as to cumulative and non-cumulative. In cumulative preferred shares, they will be entitled not only to the dividends declared during the current year, but also for all the unpaid dividends that were not paid in the past years. Kasi usually nga, naka-fixed percentage ang preferred stocks. So kung kunwari naka 6% yan, supposedly 6% annual ang dividends na nare-receive nila. No? But in the years that they were not able to receive those, they will be referred to as dividends in arrears, to which the cumulative preferred shares would still be entitled to. Kaya sa distribution ng dividends, babayaran sila ng fixed percentage, babayaran yung dividends in arrears, tsaka lang titignan kung may matitira pang pamimigay sa common stockholders. Whereas non-cumulative preferred shares will be entitled only to the dividends if there is something declared. No? But with regards past dividends that they were not able to receive, hindi na sila entitled thereto. No? Kaya medyo literal naman yung mga descriptive naman, yung mga words na ginagamit natin with regards to the classification of preferred shares. And as we have mentioned, a preferred stock can also have preference with regards to liquidation. So in the event that the corporation will be dissolved and eventually liquidated, uunahin muna nating bigyan yung preferred stocks ng proceeds ng assets in the event of liquidation, at kung meron lang matitira, tsaka natin ipamimigay sa common stockholders. And if the preferred stocks would be cumulative, no, priority din muna na bayaran yung kanilang dividend in arrears bago yung distribution ng capital to the common stockholders. So that's common and preferred shares with regards to any preference that may be granted by the corporation. Now, on the other hand, the premise of preferred shares is that generally, like redeemable shares, they are not entitled to vote, although it must be clearly withheld. Nevertheless, under Section 6 of the Corporation Code, there will be instances where the preferred and redeemable shares who are generally not entitled to vote will be allowed to vote. And these matters would include the amendment of the Articles of Incorporations, or yung tinatawag nga nating relevant changes to the charter of the corporation, also including any changes to the bylaws or the adoption thereof, with regards to the disposal of all or substantially all of the corporate property, and with regards increasing, creating, or incurring bonded indebtedness. Papayagan din bumoto itong supposedly non-voting shares with regards to the increase or decrease of capital stock, also with mergers or consolidation and investment of the corporate funds in another corporation. Usually, or more importantly, if the other corporation is not really within the same line of business. And of course, with regards to the voluntary dissolution of the corporation. As we will go later on to the voting rights or the voting requirements of the stockholders, ito lang yung nag-iisa dito that will require a majority. itong mga ito, yan na rin yung mga makikita mo supposedly those that will require 2/3 vote of the stockholders. No? Kaya hindi na masyadong mahirap yung dami ng tatandaan natin. Only with regards to the bylaws, generally majority lang ang magiging requirement. For all the other instances when the preferred and redeemable shares will be allowed to vote, will be 2/3 requirement. Except now, under the revised corporation code, if the voluntary dissolution would not affect creditors, walang effect sa creditors, no, then this will require only a majority. Yan lang yung isang relevant amendment that was introduced by the Corporation Code. But if creditors would still be affected by the voluntary dissolution, the generic requirement of 2/3 would still be applicable. Now, ang binago lang, if there are no creditors affected, majority na lang ang required. Okay? Now, ito lang yung bago pinasok with regards the disposal of all or substantially all of the assets. So whether by sale, by mortgage, or other security form or accessory contracts, basta magkakaroon ng risk of disposal, kine-consider na natin ngayon yung amount. No, dati kasi ang consideration lang was qualitative in character. Ang premise supposedly of what will constitute disposal of all or substantially all of the assets of the corporation will be whether the corporation can continue its business or the purpose for which it was incorporated. No, kaya kung kunwari kahit 100 million ang assets mo, 10 million lang dyan ang PPE or your equipments and machineries, pero ito yung binenta, it may be considered disposal of all or substantially all of the assets already. No? Kasi kung bibenta mo yung equipment mo, baka hindi ka na makapag-operate. Diba? Hindi ka na makakapag-continue ng iyong business. But with Section 39, which is the renumbered provision under the revised corporation code, titignan na natin dito yung computation based on the net asset of the corporation. So nagkakaroon na kayo ng quantitative factor. Although there is no specification yet as to what will be the percentage that we may consider as disposal of all or substantially all of the assets. Yun nga lang, yung introduction ng amendment presupposes now a quantitative approach in determining whether the disposal will be all or substantially all of the assets of the corporation. Now, with regards to the par value, we can classify shares of stock as to whether they have a stated par value or no par value shares. As the name would suggest, a par value would have a stated par value, which may be fixed or which is rather fixed in the articles of incorporation and will be reflected in the certificate of stock. The par value represents the minimum amount that the corporation may receive in exchange for the shares of stock. Otherwise, magkakaroon tayo ng tinatawag na watering of stocks. Kaya hindi pwedeng mas mababa sa par value kapag ini-issue ang par value shares. On the other hand, if the par value shares are required or the par value itself is required to appear in the articles of incorporation, ang no par value shares naman hindi required, but it may indicate the issue price or the stated value. So pwedeng nakalagay yan sa articles of incorporation, pwede rin namang i-fix ng board of directors when they are authorized to do so, or kung wala sa articles at hindi pwedeng i-fix ng board, it will be the stockholders themselves that will fix the issue price or the stated value. So again, sa par value shares, required na nasa articles. Sa no par value shares, pwedeng nasa articles, pero pwede rin namang hindi. Kasi the issue price or the stated value may be fixed after the incorporation of the corporation. Ang requirement lang na nakalagay sa articles is that you have no par value shares. Yun lang ilalagay doon. Pero hindi katulad sa par value shares, nakalagay pa yung authorized capital stock. Diba? Nakalagay pa how many shares they are divided into and the par value. Pero kapag no par value shares, that fact must be stated in the articles, but the issue price or the stated value is not required to be indicated. Now, take note, however, that there are limitations in the issuance of no par value shares, and this will be 5 important limitations. Number 1, once they are issued, they will be deemed fully paid already and non-assessable. Ibig sabihin, hindi mo na pwedeng kolektahin kung may kulang man from the stockholders. This will be particularly important when we get to watering of stocks, kasi watering of stocks may also cover no par value shares because they cannot, as a rule, be issued below the issue price or the stated value. Kaya technically speaking, yung indication lang sa articles yung medyo malaking difference between par and no par value shares. No? Kasi as to watering of stocks, pareho naman ng concept. If it is issued less than par or less than issue price, pwede pa rin magkaroon ng watering of stocks. Ang pinagkaiba nga lang ito. No? Once the no par value shares are issued, they are already deemed fully paid and already non-assessable. Second limitation is that they cannot be issued for less than 5 pesos, which does not apply with regards to the par value. No? Kaya ang par value mo pwedeng 1 peso, pero si no par value shares hindi pwedeng less than 5 pesos. And Like a par value share naman, no, the entire consideration, including the additional paid-in capital, will be considered as capital, which cannot be used to declare dividends. Pero pareho naman yan ng concept with par value shares. It created the confusion or a misconception, supposedly, that with regards par value shares, only the par value would constitute capital and the APIC can be distributed as dividends. Hindi. No? Hindi rin pwede, even additional paid-in capital, because the Supreme Court has agreed already with the definition of capital made by the SEC, which will include additional paid-in capital. So pareho lang yan ang concept with regards par value shares. Also, you cannot issue no par value shares as preferred stock. As we have highlighted a while ago, a preferred stock must always be issued with a stated par value. Kaya hindi pwedeng magkaroon ng concept ng no par value preferred stocks. And of course, those imbued with public interest cannot issue no par value shares. So papasok dyan yung mga bangko, trust companies, insurance, public utilities, and buildings and loans association, which are industries that are not allowed to have no par value shares. So sila laging par value shares lang ang meron. Now, as we have mentioned earlier, we have the concept of watered stocks. Whenever a share or shares of stock for that matter will be issued less than its par value or its issue price or stated value. No? Kaya hindi pwede, or rather, kaya mag-a-apply ang watered stocks for both par value and no par value shares. So whenever they are issued for less than the par or stated or issue price, automatic watered stock na ang treatment natin. Ang nagiging tanong na lang dito pagkatapos will be sino ang magiging liable for the difference. If it is a requirement by law that they should be issued at par or the issue price at a minimum, sino ngayon na magbabayad ng difference kung sakasakaling magkakaroon ng watered stocks? And that will depend whether doon ang kakaroon na tuloy ng difference kung par or no par value shares ang inisyo ng corporation. So let's take this illustration for example. So si X company has 10 million authorized capital stock which is divided into two kinds of shares. 5 million of which will be 1 peso par value shares and 1 million no par value shares at 5 pesos na stated price or issue price for the no par value shares. However, A, a supposed subscriber and eventually a stockholder, acquired 1 million of the par value shares only for 80 cents, which is below the par value, and 100,000 no par value shares at 4 pesos, which is below the stated or issue price. In both cases, magkakaroon ng watered stock. No? Meron din for no par value shares. Basta issued less than the par issue price, automatic watered stock na. Yun nga lang ang sabi natin, ang tanong will be who is liable for the difference in the price. No? In this case, with regards to the par value shares, it will be the solidary liability of both the directors and the subscriber stockholder, which in this case would be A. So they will be solidarily liable for the 20 cents difference for the 1 million of the par value shares that were issued. Now, with regards to the directors, as we have mentioned before, as a rule, they will not be liable if they don't assent to any of the unlawful acts of the corporation, or that they will not be personally liable. No? But remember that with regards to the issuance of watered stocks, in order to escape liability, the law requires that their objection must be in writing. Kaya kung kunwari, during the meeting, sumigaw lang siya that I object to the issuance of the watered stocks, hindi pa rin siya escape from or exempted from liability. No? Magbabayad pa rin siya or kasali pa rin siya to those who would be solidarily liable with the issuance of the watered stock. Personally liable. No? Na kailangan kasi in writing. Now, with regards no par value shares on the other hand, okay, ang liable na lang dito will be the directors. They will be considered solidarily liable for the issuance of the watered stocks, but yung stockholder, hindi na. Kasi nga, sabi natin earlier, once no par value shares are issued, they will be deemed fully paid already and non-assessable. Kaya hindi na pwedeng singilin si stockholder once the no par value shares are already issued. Okay, issuance ang magiging trigger dyan. Kaya only the directors will be liable for the watering of stocks concerning the no par value shares. I hope we're clear with regards to watered stock. Now, other kinds of shares of stock that you may have encountered or read through will be redeemable shares, which as the name would suggest, can be the subject of redemption. Now, it can either be granting the corporation itself the right to repurchase the shares or grant the stockholder or the holder of the redeemable shares to require the payment of the repurchase price at a certain date when he can exercise the right of redemption. So either the corporation or the shareholder will be granted the right to repurchase, in which case the shares can either be retired eventually once it is redeemed or it can be acquired by the corporation as treasury shares. Take note that the redemption of redeemable shares will not be subject to the requirement of availability of unrestricted retained earnings. Hindi katulad pag liquidating dividends, no, kailangan meron kang unrestricted retained earnings or any kind of dividends for that matter. Pero kapag babayaran mo lang yung repurchase price ng redeemable share or the redemption price for that matter, hindi kailangan na meron kang available unrestricted retained earnings. Now, other shares can include treasury shares, which have already been issued, which means they were already fully paid, but they are subsequently reacquired by the corporation by any legal means, no? Either by purchase, redemption, or donation. Subsequently, the corporation can reissue these treasury shares or they can have them declared as property dividends. Take note, however, that since it is now owned by the corporation after the reacquisition of the shares, they will not form part of the outstanding shares. Accordingly, hindi sila kasama sa pagbibilang natin ng required percentage vote, no, and also with regards those who will be entitled to the dividends kasi nga nakapangalan naman siya sa corporation. Okay? Now, we have the concept of subscribed shares. Although technically speaking or practically speaking, ang ibig sabihin lang naman nito will be the shares of stock which are already covered by a subscription contract. And a subscription contract covering the subscribed shares will be a contract to purchase, no, the unissued shares of an existing or a corporation that will be formed right after. Now, take note, with regards to subscription contract, meron tayong concept dito ng irrevocability. Supposedly, once you enter into a subscription contract as a general rule, it will be treated as irrevocable for at least 6 months from the date of the subscription. The only exception that it can be revoked, no, after the 6-month period or even before the 6-month period is when all the subscribers would consent to the revocation or if the incorporation of the corporation fails to materialize within the 6-month period or a longer period that may be stipulated in the contract. So dahil wala naman ng corporation na ma-form, pinapayagan na ng batas na maging or na i-revoke yung already existing subscription contract. Or it will also be considered as irrevocable after the articles of incorporation has already been submitted or filed with the SEC. So in both instances, a pre-incorporation subscription will be treated as irrevocable, and as a rule, the stockholder or the subscriber cannot go back, no, from the contract anymore. Now, take note also that we have the concept of indivisibility, which means that the issuance of the certificate of stock will only be made once there is full payment of the subscription contract. No? Kapag fully paid na. So regardless of how much percentage you have already paid with regards to subscription, it will not entitle you to any certificate of stock. Kasi ang trigger lang dyan will only be the full payment of the entire subscription and any applicable interest and expenses. So, kunwari, ayan, si X subscribe to 10,000 shares. So, ang coverage ng subscription contract niya will be 10,000 shares at par value of 1 peso. So, kahit nakapagbayad na siya ng 9,500, which already represents 95 or 95% of the entire subscription price, hindi pa rin siya entitled to the certificate of stock kasi hindi pa fully paid yung shares covered by the subscription contract. Now, take note, however, that a subscriber will already be entitled to all the rights of a stockholder and its corresponding liabilities. Nevertheless, a subscriber will not yet be entitled to the issuance of the certificate of stock, which again, he will be entitled to only once there is full payment because of the concept of indivisibility. He will also have no rights as a stockholder, at least suspended, if the shares will eventually be declared delinquent, which we will discuss in a while, or when he exercises the appraisal right, which will also suspend all the rights of a stockholder. But other than that, other than the issuance of the certificate of stock, any rights that a stockholder may exercise or be entitled to, applicable na rin kagad sa subscriber. Kaya nga yung subscribed shares, sinasama na rin natin sa concept ng outstanding capital stock, which is the basis of the votes and also the basis of the declaration of dividends. Kasi nga entitled na rin ang mga subscriber to the rights of the stockholders. Now, a share or a subscription for that matter will be declared delinquent under the law whenever there is no full payment made, no? Kaya kahit partially paid lang pero meron pa ring unpaid, pwede pa rin maging delinquent shares if after 30 days on the date fixed in the contract of subscription or a call that is made by the board of directors, no full payment was made, no? Kaya nga literal na delinquente kasi nag-due date na, nakalipas pa ang 30 days pero hindi pa rin siya nakapagbayad in full, no, ng total subscription price. Ngayon, what will happen if the shares will be declared by the board of directors as delinquent? As a general rule, they will lose the right to vote and be voted upon, no, or be represented in any meeting, as well as all the rights pertaining to the stockholder will also be suspended, no? Except with regards the right to dividends. Kung cash dividends yan, matatanggap pa rin niya. Yun nga lang, ibabawas yan doon sa unpaid balance ng kanyang subscription contract, including cost and expenses if applicable. But with regards stock dividends, suspended lamang yung issuance ng kanyang stock dividends until there is full payment of the subscription contract. Okay? Now, after that, the board of directors can enforce the payment of the subscription with regards any unpaid portion, including any interest, which may either be on the date fixed in the contract of subscription or again, a call made by the board of directors. So yung call, ginagawa lang naman yan kung sakasakaling walang due date sa subscription contract, so that the board of directors will be the one to fix as to when the remaining subscription price or yung tinatawag na nating subscription receivable will be due and demandable already. And ang sabi nga natin, pwede yung kolektahin or the unpaid portion of the subscription can be collected either by a board action to collect or by a collection case that may be filed in court. Failure or refusal of the board of directors to enforce or collect the unpaid subscription, lalo na baka friends sila ng subscriber, no, will not prevent any of the creditors or the receiver of the corporation, in case it is under receivership, to institute any court action for its collection. So they will be allowed to collect the unpaid balance in behalf of the corporation kung ayaw ng board of directors. Ngayon, with regards delinquency sale, merong 5 bagay lang nakakaiba na kailangan nating tandaan dito. Unang-una, all the bid, no, kasi yung delinquency sale is really a public auction also, pareho lang din. So nagkakaroon ng subasta or yung tinatawag nga na public bidding, no? Pero ang kakaiba kasi sa delinquency sale, pare-pareho ang amount na kailangang i-bid ng mga potential buyers, no, or potential bidders. And the amount that they have to bid has to include the balance of the unpaid subscription, any accrued interest applicable to it, the costs of advertisement, and other expenses relative to the sales. So pare-pareho lahat ng amount ng bid na meron ang mga potential buyers. Ang pinagkaiba lang sa kanilang mga bid will be the number of shares that they are willing to accept in exchange for the said amount. So kung 10,000 yung amount na kailangan bayaran, si A, B at C lahat 10,000 ang bid nila. Ang pinagkaiba lang, how many shares are they willing to accept in exchange for the 10,000 pesos amount that they have to bid. And yung tinatawag nating highest bidder will be the stockholder who will be willing to pay the amount in number 1 for the least number of shares in exchange. Kaya nga, medyo misnomer yung highest bidder, pero ang titignan natin is the least number of shares that a stockholder or a potential buyer will be willing to accept. Kaya pag na-determine na kung sino yung highest bidder, then ibibigay na sa kanya yung number of shares that he bid already or the number of shares he's willing to receive. And if there is any remaining shares after the purchaser was given his bid already, will be credited in favor of the delinquent stockholder. So pwede pa rin siyang maging shareholder. Pero kung walang magiging bidder doon sa delinquency sale, lahat ng amount will be bid by the corporation itself, and all the shares covered by the subscription contract will be vested in the corporation as treasury shares. Or in short, kung walang bidder, walang matatanggap si delinquent subscriber kasi lahat ng shares mapupunta sa corporation. So let's take this illustration as an example. So X subscribed to 10,000 shares at 1 peso per share par value. He was able to pay already 6,000 until the shares were already declared delinquent for the failure to pay the remaining balance. The corporation eventually incurred 1,000 for expenses, okay, with regards the delinquency sale and costs of advertisement. So in this case, all the bidders would have to bid the unpaid price of 4,000 and additional expenses of 1,000. So kung kunwari meron kang bidders na A, B at C, lahat sila 5,000 pesos yung amount na ibibid. Again, ang pinagkakaiba nga lang dito will be the number of shares that they will be willing to accept in exchange for the 5,000 pesos. So kung si A nagbid ng 4,300, si B naman nagbid ng 4,500, at si C ay nagbid ng 5,000 shares, si A yung ating magiging highest bidder kasi he is willing to accept the least number of shares in exchange for the 5,000 pesos. Kaya siya yung highest bidder natin. So mangyayari ngayon dyan, ibibigay sa kanya yung 4,300 shares that he bid for, and the balance of the 5,700 shares will now go to X. Ganun lang naman kasimple. Pero ang sabi nga natin, if there were no bidders, the entire 10,000 shares will belong to the corporation in exchange for the unpaid amount of 5,000 pesos, and no shares shares will be received anymore by the delinquent subscriber. So lahat mapupunta na sa corporation. I hope we're clear with regards delinquency sale of unpaid subscribed shares. No? Now, let's take this particular poll question relative to that. So which of the following, hindi na lunch, ayan. Which of the following is false with regards to preferred shares? So you have their preferred share is a stock that gives the holder preference over the holder of common stocks with respect to payment of dividends and distribution of capital upon liquidation. A preferred share can be issued without par provided it is not issued for less than 5 pesos and the preference must be stated in the articles or in the certificate of stock or none of the above. Natunaw na yung yellow ng iced coffee ko tapos puro tubig na lang yung ibabaw. Okay, let's give 5 more seconds for the others to answer. Although medyo malaki na yung percentage with regards to the correct answer. Okay, sige, let me end the poll there and share with you the results. So the answer here will be letter B. Kasi ang sabi nga natin, it must always have a stated par value. Yung less than 5 pesos na prohibition, applicable lang po yan sa no par value shares. Sa preferred stocks, required na magkaroon ng par value. Number 20, relaunch. Ayan. So as a general rule, preferred shares do not give the holder the right to vote. However, they shall have the right to vote in the following except. So ano yung not covered no, ng ating right to vote under section 6. Ayan. Hopefully, good health na tayong lahat. No? Wala nang mga may sintomas pa. Sabi ni Donna, ano po ang mangyayari sa 6,000 na binayad ni X sa previous example po na kay corporation na po? Hindi ibabalik if that's your question. The delinquent subscriber will not be entitled thereto. Okay. Donna, go, go, go. Sige, let me end the poll there and share with you the results. Ayan, most of you got it correctly. It should be the sale of all or disposition of all or substantially all of the assets of the corporation. Again, from a qualitative perspective, we only consider it a disposition of substantially all of the assets whenever it will not allow the corporation to continue operating anymore. Generally speaking, kapag nagbenta ng inventory ang isang corporation, as a rule, lalo silang makakapagpatuloy ng negosyo, di ba? Kasi part ng ordinary course of business nila supposedly is to sell or dispose of the inventories. Kaya hindi yan, imagine, ano lang din from a logical perspective, from a practical perspective, kung sakaling ikaw ay isang corporation, ipapatawag mo pa lahat ng shareholders, including the preferred shareholders, to vote no, kung ikaw ay magbibenta or hindi ng inventaryo. Medyo impractical. No? Kaya C would be the exception to this particular question. Ayan. Similar na ito sa ating example din earlier. So X company has 10 million authorized capital stock that is divided into 5 million shares at 1 peso par value and 1 million no par value shares issued at 5 pesos. Issue value at 5 pesos. A acquired 100,000 no par value shares and the same were issued in this case. So what will be the correct statement following that? Medyo boring pa naman yung concept ng shares of stock alone. Okay, 10 more seconds for the others. Sarap pa naman sanang matulog lang, no? Kasi ang ginaw. No aircon needed. Kahapon, the lowest temperature was 19 degrees nung madaling araw. Di ba? Para ka nang nasa Baguio. Salamat, amihan. Okay, sige, let me end the poll there. And again, most of you got it correctly. The answer here will be letter D. Again, there is watering of stocks even concerning no par value shares. But with regards to the extent of liability, once no par value shares are issued, they are already considered fully paid and non-assessable. Kaya si A, na subscriber or stockholder in this case, will no longer be liable for the watering of stocks. It will be the directors, including those who fail to provide a written objection, who will be solidarily liable for the difference of 1 peso or for the watering of stocks. Again, yan lang ang medyo material difference between par value and no par value shares as to watered stocks. Kasi kung par value shares ang na-issue, B would have been the answer. No? That A and X corporation's director would have been solidarily liable for the watering of the par value shares. Pero pag no par, again, already fully paid and non-assessable once they are already issued. Okay? Number 22. So Mr. A subscribed to 10,000 shares of 1 peso par value. He was already able to pay 50% of the subscription price. In this case, which of the following is not a right granted to Mr. A? Okay naman sa inyo itong ang MCQ natin ay every after the topic, or mas preferred nyo na lahat ng MCQs will be discussed na lang after all the discussions were made already? Kasi baka yung iba, di ba, parang kaka-discuss lang dito, napaka-obvious naman ng question, wala namang ganun, or better sa inyo na nagkakaroon ng MCQ right after the discussion of the concept. Alright. Natatandaan pa kapag nagsasagot. That's good. Noted. Marami namang nag-agree. Sige, we'll continue doing this. Ang bilis nyo po magsalita. Kasi ang haba nga ng topic natin. Naku, Yen. Sana kung naabutan mo ng face-to-face. Tapos sobra yung time constraint talaga. Naku, my former reviewees really. Kaya pinapayagan ko na lang na i-record nila. Imagine, nagsasalita ako habang nagsusulat pa. So, kailangan yung sulat ko kasing bilis din ang bunganga ko. But that's the good thing about That's the good thing about having it na online. No? At least recorded na siya. At mababalikan mo siya ng legal. Legal. Yung hindi kailangan yung illegal recording. Anyway, sige, let me end the poll there and share with you the results. So letter C will be the correct answer here because of the concept, again, of indivisibility, and that the issuance of the shares of stock will only be, or the certificate of stock rather, will be applicable only once there's full payment of the subscription price. No? And again, the entire subscription contract is an indivisible contract. Kaya hanggat hindi fully paid yung 10,000, kahit pa 95% na ngayon nabayaran in our example earlier, hindi pa rin entitled to the certificate of stock. Kasi kailangan full payment ang makukuha ng corporation. Okay? With that, we'll take our first break muna para hindi tayo mabitin kasi medyo mahaba-haba yung rights of a stock. Okay, so going back, we are now in the rights of a stockholder, and syempre ang unang-una ang unang-unang part or right of a stockholder will be his right to participate in the management. And how does a stockholder, if the management is undertaken supposedly by the board of directors, paano ba nagpa-participate sa management ang stockholders? That will be via their right to vote. So by exercising the right to vote, either personally or by proxy, this is how the stockholder exercises the right to participate in the management, lalong-lalo na sa mga material changes that may happen in the corporation. So dito na rin natin i-discuss yung mga required votes for purposes of acts, no, that will be done by a corporation. And for ease of remembering them, I have grouped them into 4. So meron dyan isa, yung kailangan ng Board of Directors resolution that will require 2/3 concurrence of the stockholders. Meron yung kailangan ng board resolution pero majority lang ang concurrence na required ng stockholders. And meron din naman yung 2/3 and majority even without the board resolution. Kaya dito medyo mas madali pagdating sa corpo kasi 2/3 at majority lang ang ating tatandaan. Okay? So the first group, as we have mentioned, will be those that will require the resolution of the majority of the board plus the concurrence of 2/3 of the outstanding capital stock. And as we have mentioned, karamihan na rin sa listahan na ito, yung mga nabanggit natin kanina where the non-voting shares will be allowed to participate in the voting. And it will include nga the changes. The changes that will be made with regards corporate stock, whether increase or decrease, as to bonded indebtedness, incurring, creating, or increasing even the bonded indebtedness, and the disposal with regards all or substantially all of the assets. Again, yung quantitative or qualitative approach natin as to whether the corporation will be able to continue its business or not. And investment in another corporation of the funds of the corporation other than for its primary purpose or hindi related doon sa business ng original corporation. It will also require 2/3 vote of the stockholder to amend the articles of incorporation for mergers and consolidation. Mamaya, di-discuss natin yung procedure as to how the merger consolidation may be effected. And with regards to voluntary dissolution of the corporation. Except, as we have mentioned, under the revised corporation code, where there will be no creditors affected by the voluntary dissolution, ang requirement na lang ay majority vote. Pero dun sa voluntary dissolution that will affect creditors, ang requirement pa rin 2/3. No? Yun pa rin katulad ng old corporation code. Also, to extend or shorten the corporate term and to deny the preemptive rights as well as declare stock dividends. Yung stock dividends, di-discuss din natin later, and yung preemptive right also in a while. To enter into a management contract as an exception, kasi as a general rule, majority vote ang required dito. Ano ba yung management contract? Literally, it is a contract entered into by two corporations whereby one corporation will manage the affairs of the other. No? Kaya meron kang managing corporation at managed corporation. So as a rule, majority vote lang ang required for the stockholders in both of the corporation or corporations involved, pero nagiging 2/3 ang requirement sa part ng managed corporation where a stockholder or stockholders in the represents the same interest in the managed and managing corporation owns or controls 1/3 of the managing corporation. So, yung managing corporation that will manage the affairs of the managed corporation, 1/3 ng stocks ni managing corporation, iisang stockholder or iisang group of stockholders lang ang may hawak na meron ding stockholding sa managed corporation. So, nagiging exceptional, in which case 2/3 ang required vote kay managed corporation. Ganon din ang applicable voting requirement if the majority of the board of the managing corporation is also the same majority of the board with regards the managed corporation. Again, in either case, no, sa managed corporation mag-a-apply yung requirement na 2/3. Pero kay managing, majority pa rin ang required vote for purposes of entering the management contract. Napakaraming manage lang nabanggit sa oras na yun. Okay? Now, ito lang ang naging amendment ng revised corporation code as to entering into a managing contract. Limited na ang term ng isang management contract to maximum of 5 years for any one term. Although it can be extended or another managing contract can be entered into kung sakasakali. Okay? So those are the instances. Now you will notice medyo material ang nagiging changes pagdating sa corporation kaya 2/3 ang nagiging required voting on the part of the stockholders. Now, on the other hand, we have a majority of the board which will require only the concurrence of the majority of the outstanding capital stock or from the stockholders to enter into a management contract as a general rule. So sa part ni managing corporation, yan, and managed corporation, sa BOD, ang requirement lang dito, majority as a general rule. Pagdating sa stockholders, majority lamang din as a general rule. Pero ang sabi nga natin, pag pumasok yung exception na discuss natin kanina, ito lang ang nagbabago. Nagiging 2/3 ang vote required on the part of the managed corporation. Also, majority lang din ng stockholders ang required in order to amend, repeal, or adopt the bylaws. We will discuss later on the bylaws with regards its adoption, which would normally require majority vote only. And as to the amendment, kung stockholders ang gagawa directly, majority lang din ang required. Unless they will delegate the right to amend the bylaws to the board of directors, in which case the delegation will require 2/3 vote of the stockholders. Now, with regards without any board resolution, pero 2/3 pa rin ang required mo from the stockholders, karamihan dito nabanggit na natin kanina, to delegate the power to amend the bylaws. Although as we will discuss in a while, majority lang ang required to revoke, no, the power to amend the bylaws. Pero yung delegation, 2/3 lang required to revoke the delegation, majority lang ang kailangan. Also, 2/3 din with regards removal of the board of directors as to the vote that will be required, which we have already mentioned in the removal of directors, and to ratify a business opportunity which is in violation of the corporate opportunity doctrine. Sabi natin, under this doctrine, supposedly, a director would have to give way whenever he encounters a business opportunity that in all material respects would rightfully belong to the corporation. Pero kapag tinake niya yung business opportunity for himself, he will be liable to account for the profits that he will be deriving from the transaction, except if it is ratified by 2/3 of the stockholders. Na kaya yan, 2/3 ang requirement in order for the ratification to happen. 2/3 din ang magiging required with regards the contracts of self-dealing directors. Di ba sabi natin, generally voidable ang kontrata ng self-dealing director with the corporation except if his presence is not required to constitute a quorum, his vote is not required to approve the transaction, and that it is fair and reasonable under the circumstance. Pero ang sabi natin, pag nawala ang kahit ano dun sa unang dalawa, no, pwede pa rin namang maging valid if it is ratified by 2/3 of the outstanding capital stock. No? Kaya ito yung isang instance na nagiging 2/3 din ang required na vote. Okay? Now, with regards without board resolution pero majority lang ang required sa stockholders, papasok na dito yung ating bylaws. No? Sabi nga natin to revoke the delegated power to the board of directors to amend the bylaws, majority lang ang required. But the delegation will require 2/3. Revocation of the delegation will be by majority only. Also, majority lang din in order to call a special meeting to remove directors, but the vote required to remove the directors is 2/3 as we have mentioned a while ago. And to fix compensation of the directors as an exception to the rule that they are not entitled to any compensation, majority lang din ang kailangan. Also, to fix the issue price or stated value with regards no par value shares, sabi natin the issue price or stated value can either be in the articles or it can be fixed by the board whenever they are authorized to do so. Pero kung wala sa articles at walang authority si board, pwedeng diretso ng stockholders ang mag-fix ng issue price or stated value, in which case majority vote lang din ang required. Ang wala lang naman na dito sa summary natin, na nabanggit na rin natin before, is with regards existing corporations who wants to maintain their fixed term. Kasi sabi natin, di ba, under the amendment, lahat perpetual existence na, even existing corporations. But under the revised corporation code, if existing corporations would want to continue having their fixed term, it will only require a majority vote of the stockholders. So yun lang yung hindi nabanggit dito, pero voting requirement din kung sakasakali. Okay? Also, part of the rights of a stockholder will be to receive dividends. In fact, I suppose this will be the main purpose, no, why the stockholders would actually be stockholders in order to receive dividends from the shares or eventually to dispose of them. So they will have the right to receive dividends or even to compel the declaration of the dividends whenever it is warranted. As a rule, with regards cash dividends, board resolution lang ang kailangan, pero if the board will issue stock dividends, it will require the approval of the stockholders owning at least 2/3 of the outstanding capital stock. Kaya nabanggit din natin dun sa listahan sa first group ng voting rights yung stock dividends kasi kailangan may concurrence pa, no, ng stockholders yung declaration yan. Ang logic lang dyan is that as stockholders, they expect cash as a return on their investment. Kaya kung bibigyan mo sila ng stock dividends, kailangan payag or willing silang tanggapin yung stock dividends. Okay? Now, sabi natin kanina, the stockholders will have the right to compel the declaration of dividends whenever it is warranted. And dito yan mag-a-apply. No? Because as a rule, a corporation cannot have retained earnings that is in excess of 100% of the paid-up capital. If you will remember, ito rin yung prima facie evidence before that we have for improper accumulation of earnings under income tax. No? Pero dahil wala nang IAIT, hindi ko alam kung i-discuss ko sa inyo, pero tinanggal na kasi yung IAIT. Pero same concept. But with the corporation code, whenever the corporation has retained earnings in excess of 100% of the paid-up capital, it will give the right to the stockholders to compel the declaration of dividends, except if the retention of the earnings will be for the following reasons. To justify a definite corporate expansion project or programs approved by the board, or with regards prohibitions under a loan contract or agreement without the creditor's consent. So normally yan, nakikita mo yung stipulation na yan sa mga bonds, no? Yung merong bond covenant na tinatawag. Kasi hindi pinapayagang mag-declare ng dividends, kailangan itabi lang muna, no, yung retained earnings na yan na eventually gagamitin pambayad once the loan or the obligation becomes due and demandable. Or it is clearly shown that the retention will be necessary under special circumstances. Kaya nga, technically speaking, when we talk about the right of the stockholders to compel the declaration of dividends, we are talking about unappropriated retained earnings. Unappropriated. Kasi these are the items that would justify appropriation of retained earnings, yung mga expansion projects or capital expenditures. No? It will justify appropriation of retained earnings which will allow the board of directors to retain earnings in excess of the 100% paid up capital. Kaya kung may choices man, pagdating sa exam, so yung maingay yung nangongolekta ng basura. Anyway, so kung meron talagang sakto-sakto sa every Thursday ang collection ng basura dito sa amin. Kaya every Thursday morning, lagi nyo silang maririnig na. Anyway, so again, kailan pwedeng i-compel ng stockholders yung board to declare the dividends kapag ang unappropriated retained earnings are already in excess of 100% of the paid up capital. Yeah, kasi allowed naman to retain for specific justifiable reasons under the corporation code. Okay? Now, if there will be no retained earnings, as a general rule, dividends cannot be declared, lalo na kung manggagaling siya sa capital stock. Hindi ko alam ba't hindi ko pa nilagay ito sa handout nyo. Pero this is otherwise known as the trust fund doctrine. Ayan. In numerous Supreme Court cases, the Supreme Court referred to this as the trust fund doctrine, which means that the capital stock or the paid up capital of a corporation is a fund that the corporate creditors can look into for payment. No? Kaya yan ang nagiging justification or logic behind the prohibition kung bakit hindi ka pwedeng mag-declare ng dividends kung wala kang retained earnings or kapag kukunin mo sa capital stock yung dividends. Hindi pwede, no? Because of the trust fund doctrine. But being a general rule, of course, there are exceptions to this. No? It will include number one, liquidating dividends, which will include the return of the capital to the stockholders already. Kaya pwede nang manggaling sa capital stock yan kasi literal na binabalik mo na, no, yung kanyang capital in the form of liquidating dividends. And also with regards investments in wasting assets like mining, oil, and well, no, where during the operations itself bumababa yan kaya pinapayagan. Although I don't know bakit hiniwalay pa ito ng corporation code because this is technically in the form of a liquidating dividend din, no. But this is the exception, liquidating dividends and in wasting assets, pwede kang mag-declare ng dividends even out of the capital stock, even if you don't have retained earnings. But again, as a general rule, bawal under what we call the trust fund doctrine. Okay? Now, may concept din tayo ng preemptive right. Hindi ko na bakit wala yung animation ko dito. A preemptive right allows the stockholder to maintain the percentage holdings that he has in a particular corporation. Kaya kapag magkakaroon ng issuance or disposition ng shares of stock, meron siyang right to what do you call this? A right to purchase the issuance of the shares equivalent to a percentage of his earnings or owning or his stock holdings, no? Kasi para ma-maintain niya at least yung kanyang percentage ownership. So kung kunwari meron siyang 10% capital or 10% ang kanyang percentage ownership in the corporation and there will be 100,000 shares that will be issued, he is entitled to the 10,000 shares as a guarantee, no? Na kailangan sa kanya muna i-offer yung 10,000 para pagkatapos i-issue yung 100,000 shares, at least 10% pa rin ang kanyang ownership sa corporation. But take note, being a right, hindi ito required, no? Na kailangan i-exercise lagi ng stockholder. Kaya nga karapatan ito, no? So ibig sabihin, the stockholder may or may not exercise this right depending on his well, depende sa kanya, no? Kung gusto niya or ayaw niya. Kaya hindi naman requirement. Take note, however, that the preemptive right may be denied in all of these four grounds, in which case hindi pwedeng i-exercise ni stockholder yung kanyang preemptive right. So whenever the shares will be issued in order to comply with the minimum stock ownership by the public, so like right now, I think the minimum public ownership requirement of the SEC will be 20%. So if the corporation will issue shares of stock to meet that minimum requirement, hindi pwedeng mag-exercise ng preemptive right ang stockholder kasi nga dapat public ang bibili ng shares that will be issued, no, to meet the minimum public ownership requirement. Or whenever the shares will be issued to acquire property that will be needed for corporate purposes, pwedeng i-deny yung preemptive right kasi yung shares lahat i-issue dun sa owner ng property, no? Kaya hindi pwedeng magmagaling si stockholder na kailangan sa akin mo muna ibigay, no? And whenever the shares will be issued also in order to pay already existing contractual obligations or debt kasi nga the shares will be issued in favor of the creditor. That's why there is no preemptive right that may be exercised by the stockholder. Or in case the right was actually denied in the articles itself, no? Hindi na siya nag-exist from the beginning or from the time the articles was approved by the SEC. Take note, however, sabi natin kanina, no, na voting requirement din ay 2/3 of the outstanding capital stock or the shareholders whenever we will deny the preemptive right. Dito yan nag-a-apply sa number 2 at number 3. Kasi in order to deny the preemptive right to pay for property that will be acquired or to pay already existing contractual debts, it will require the concurrence of 2/3 of the outstanding capital stock. No? Kailangan ng concurrence ng 2/3. So yan dalawa yan. Itong dalawa. Okay? Now, sabi natin, hindi naman required that the stockholder has to exercise the preemptive right. So whenever a stockholder would not exercise his preemptive right, hindi ibig sabihin na yung other shareholders will be entitled to that. So kung kunwari, let's give an example. A, B, C are the stockholders of a corporation. So 40, 30, 30. Ayan. ang kanilang percentage ownership. So kung kunwari 100,000 shares ang i-issue, it will entitle A to 40,000 shares, B to 30,000 shares, and C to 30,000 shares. If A would not exercise his preemptive right, hindi ibig sabihin na yung 40,000 shares niya ay mapupunta na kagad kay B at C lang. Na sila lang ang pwedeng maghati because the preemptive right will not transfer to the other shareholders. Pero if the corporation would decide to still issue the 40,000 shares kahit hindi in-exercise ni A ang kanyang preemptive right there too, then dyan lang magkakaroon ng preemptive right ulit. No, itong si B at si C still with their own percentages. No, yun pa rin with the percentage ownership that they have. Pero hindi exclusive lang sa kanila. No, hindi lang exclusive sa kanila. Okay? Now, the stockholder is also entitled to what we call an appraisal right. An appraisal right will be the right given to the stockholder in order to escape or disattach from the corporation whenever there will be conversion of the property into another, not of his own choosing. Ibig sabihin, magkakaroon ng material change sa corporation that the stockholder is not amenable with. No? Kaya ang mangyayari dito, pag natalo siya dun sa botohan that approve that particular transaction na ayaw niya, no? Pwede siyang umalis sa corporation by exercising his appraisal right. In which case, the corporation will be required to pay the value of his shares para lang mawala na ang kanyang shareholding sa corporation. Now, the grounds in order to exercise the appraisal right would include the amendment of the articles of incorporation. Take note, however, that not all amendments will entitle the stockholder to exercise the appraisal right. Kailangan, the amendment will have the effect of changing or restricting his rights as a stockholder or with regards to a class of shares, or magbibigay ng preference on another share that will become superior to his shares, no? Or with regards the corporate term of the corporation, either extending it or shortening it. So yan lang yung mga amendments to articles that will entitle the stockholder to exercise his or her appraisal right. Kaya nga hindi lahat ng changes or amendments to the articles will entitle the stockholder to exercise the appraisal right. Kaya kung kunwari, ang amendments sa articles of incorporation will be to increase or decrease the number of directors lamang, change the corporate name, change the principal office, walang appraisal right na pwedeng gamitin ng stockholder in relation to those amendments. Kasi wala sa kahit anong tatlo na ito yung effect ng mga amendments na iyan. So, very limited lang as to when amendments will be a valid ground to exercise appraisal right. Again, as a generic rule, ang tatandaan lang natin, material ang magiging change doon sa corporation. No? Kaya nagkakaroon ng appraisal right si stockholder that will allow him to exit the corporation. Now, also the appraisal right can be exercised with regards to disposal of all or substantially all of the corporate assets or property. Kasi nga, on a qualitative perspective, hindi naman na makakapagpatuloy yung business as a going concern. No? Kaya pinapayagan na rin na mag-exit si stockholder. Or if there will be mergers or consolidations that they are not agreeable to, or the investment of the corporate funds in another corporation for any other purpose other than its primary purpose. So those are the 4 instances in an ordinary stock corporation where the stockholder can exercise his appraisal right. Kaya limited lang in a sense. No? Hindi katulad pag closed corporation, kahit anong dahilan pwede nang mag-exercise ng appraisal right. So kung kunwari lang nag-change ng corporate name, talo sa botohan si stockholder, pwede na siyang kagad mag-appraisal right. No? Hindi lang limited dun sa 4 na nabanggit natin, any reason can justify the exercise of a stockholder's right to appraisal right in a closed corporation. Okay? Now, once you exercise the appraisal right, the stockholder's rights will already be suspended already kasi he already signified his intention to withdraw from the corporation and take the value of his stocks. So for a maximum period of 30 days, his ownership rights related to the shares will be suspended already. He will not receive any dividends anymore and he will not be allowed to vote also, no? Unless of course, he will withdraw the exercise of his appraisal right eventually. Pero as a rule, hindi na siya stockholder dapat. Kaya mawawala na rin yung kanyang mga karapatan as a stockholder. Okay? Now, a stockholder also, of course, will be entitled to be furnished the financial statements of the corporation. At ang changes lang na pinintroduce dito ng Corporation Code will be the required certification. Kasi before, under the old Corporation Code, independent CPA ang requirement, but in the revised renumbered Section 74, it will be in accordance with the Corporation Code or the rules of the SEC, which right now is an independent CPA also. Para, kumbaga, ibig sabihin, wala rin namang naging material change because of that amendment. Ang naging material change talaga dito will be the alternate certification. Unang-una, ang nagtitrigger ng right to alternate certification before was the paid up capital of the corporation if it is less than 50,000 pesos. In which case, it will require the certification of the treasurer plus another responsible officer. No? Or rather, any responsible officer. Pero ngayon, ang basis na natin on being entitled to alternative certification will be total assets or total liabilities if they are less than 600,000 pesos. Okay, so dati paid up capital less than 50,000. Ngayon, total assets or total liabilities na less than 600,000. And the required certification now will come from the treasurer and the president. No? The treasurer and the president. Di katulad dati, treasurer or any responsible officer of the corporation. Mahirap may judgment pa kung responsable ka ba or hindi. No? So ngayon, treasurer and president na ang alternate certification. Okay? Now, other rights that the stockholder may have will be including the right to enter into a voting trust agreement, in which case, unlike a proxy, no, in a voting trust agreement, the actual title to the shares will be transferred to the trustee. No, nagiging nasa pangalan niya yung shares. Hindi katulad sa proxy, on one particular meetings lamang allowed bumoto yung proxy. No? Pero hindi nalilipat sa pangalan niya yung shares. Doon sa voting trust agreement, nalilipat yung pangalan talaga ng shares doon sa trustee as a consequence, pwede siya maging director, no? Kasi nasa pangalan niya naman yung shares of stock. Okay? Now, also to transfer the shares, subject only to reasonable restrictions kung meron man, no? And preferences kung meron din. Pero sabi nga natin, in order for the restriction and preferences to be binding, dapat yan naka-indicate sa articles and in the certificate of stock. Also, to be entitled to a certificate of stock once there is full payment of the subscription already, to file a derivative suit against erring directors or corporate officers, or to recover shares of stocks that were unlawfully sold in a delinquency kung sakasakaling hindi pa valid yung delinquency sale. No? Also, the right to be issued new shares of stock in case of loss or destroyed certificates, and to have the corporation dissolved under grounds allowed by law, and to participate in the distribution of assets after dissolution or during the liquidation of the corporation itself. In case of a closed corporation, pag nagkaroon ng deadlock, kasi hindi makapag-agree on a particular matter, pwede ring i-petition si SEC to arbitrate. So kung kunwari 20 sila na pare-pareho ang stock holdings, 10-10 ang botohan, so deadlock kasi walang maging majority, you can petition the SEC to arbitrate and decide for the corporation. And also with regards sa closed corporation, to exercise the appraisal right for any reason. As we have mentioned, hindi lang yung 4 na grounds that we have mentioned earlier. No? Kasi nga, broader, if not absolute, ang appraisal right ng stockholders of a closed corporation. Okay? So let's take this particular poll questions in relation to the rights of a stockholder. So which of the following grounds to deny preemptive right would require the approval of 2/3 of the outstanding capital stock? Ayan. Nabanggit natin kanina. Dalawa yan actually, pero yung isa hindi natin sinama dito. Sige, let's give 10 more seconds for the others. Okay, sige, let me end the poll there and share with you the results. Actually, the answer here is letter B. Yan. No, kasi sabi natin yung 2 grounds to deny the preemptive right that will require the concurrence of the 2/3 of the outstanding capital stock will be whenever acquisition of property, na lahat ng shares ay mapupunta sa owner or sa seller ng property, and to pay already existing contractual debt. No, yan yung dalawang grounds that will require concurrence of the outstanding capital stock. 2/3 ang voting requirement. So 23 would be letter B. Number 24. So the appraisal right of a stockholder may be exercised in the following actions of the corporation, except okay. So mergers, consolidation, disposal of substantially all the assets or all of the assets, investment of funds in another corporation, and amendment of the articles to change the name of the corporation. Sige, let's give 5 more seconds for the others to answer. Okay, sige, let me end the poll there and share with you the results. So most of you got it correctly. This will be letter D. Kasi nga sabi natin, yung amendment ng Articles of Incorporation will allow the exercise of the appraisal right only if it has the effect of changing or restricting the rights of the stockholder, no, with regards to the corporate term, yung shortening or extending it, or granting preference to other shares as compared to the stockholder wanting to exercise his appraisal right. So not all amendments kailangan may ganong effect, no, yung tatlong yon, in order for the appraisal right to be validly exercised. All right. Number 25. So under the revised corporation code, which of the following is a valid requirement for the valid... Nako, mali pala to. Dapat mamaya pa to after the meeting. Discussion ng meetings. Nagkamali ako ng pag-place ng question. Mali na, inunod ko nga. Galing, ubos na yung sign pen ko. Okay, sige, let me end the poll and share with you the results. This will be letter D. Yan, must be called by the proper party. Okay, kasi as we will discuss in a while, if there's no date fixed in the bylaws, the annual stockholders meeting can be on any date after April 15 na. Now, that's 21 days na ang required notice for a regular meeting, and the place of the meeting now will be the principal office itself. Unless it is not practicable, then it will be in the city or municipality where the principal office is located. Kaya letter D remains to be a valid requirement. Pero yung A, B, and C na amend na lahat, as we will be discussing in a while. All right? So let's proceed to the bylaws. Okay? Aside from the Articles of Incorporation, the bylaws would have to be the second most important document in a corporation. The bylaws, as a short definition for bylaws, this will contain the internal rules of government of a particular corporation. This will spell out the relationship between the stockholders amongst themselves, the stockholders and the corporate officers and the directors and the stockholders. No, kaya lahat ng governed ng bylaws will be the conduct and duties of the people composing the corporation itself. Na? Kaya nga, kung nanonood kayo ng Suits, di ba, ang goal nila lagi ay paano paaalisin yung managing partner or paano sila magiging managing partner or named partner, kailangan laging tinitingnan yung bylaws. No? Ganon din pagdating sa corporation. Kasi nga, lahat ng rules concerning the relationship of the stockholders, corporate officers, and directors between and amongst themselves will be governed by the bylaws. No? Doon lahat yan papasok. Okay? So, the adoption of the bylaws can either be made pre-incorporation, which means prior to the incorporation of the corporation itself, where the required concurrence will be all of the incorporators. And it has